Hi, welcome back to Drafting 112. We're going to talk about auxiliary views today, and this is chapter 9. So I want to start with, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not going to go through everything, the demo in the textbook, because the steps are really very clear this time. But what I do want to do is go through the PowerPoint with you for a minute, because I want to talk with you about this topic a little bit. It's an important topic to understand. So what we're talking about are auxiliary views. And the reason, let's talk about what auxiliary views are first. Auxiliary views are used when our standard orthographic views might not be helpful. So over here on the left, we've got the standard top, front, and right view. And if you look at this object, you can see that if we define this horizontal plane as the top, front plane, like we normally would, our important piece is set at an angle to that front. And so neither one of these two, either the front view or the side view, really give us a good angle from which to be able to accurately talk about this piece. So what we can do instead is we can use an auxiliary view. And this is created in such a way that it's viewed on this angle right here. And it's depicted at an angle to indicate that it is an auxiliary view and not a standard view. So what we're really saying is, with our standard orthographic views, we look at the front plane, the side plane, and the top plane. When we're talking about an auxiliary view, we look at an inclined plane. That is, and this inclined plane is going to be parallel to this inclined surface that we need to more clearly demonstrate. Okay, there are a couple of different ways to create these things. Regardless of which method you use, what you're going to find yourself doing is creating construction lines and projecting from the front view up at an angle. And this angle, the angle at which you project, will be whatever the angle is of this inclined plane. If this is a 30-degree inclination, then you will project this up 30 degrees. And you'll just project all of your features up to make the appropriate inclined view. The other way we can do this is, so the first method used a folding line. The second method uses a projection plane. Really, they end up being the same thing. You end up creating a plane in your drawing that is parallel to the inclined surface, and you use construction lines to project the features up from the front view, usually, to that inclined plane. All right, so your textbook will walk you through creating a front view and a top view and an auxiliary view of this object. So your front view will be these edges, will include these edges that I'm highlighting here, right? Just the ones that are visible, so this guy, okay? Your top view will be as if you were looking straight down, and your auxiliary view, instead of doing a front view, if we were doing straight orthographic, we would do a front view. Instead of doing that, we're going to do an auxiliary view that is inclined parallel to this inclined surface. That activity begins on page sorry, page 16. No, earlier than that. Page 12 of chapter 9. And I do encourage you to go through those pages because there are some tools in there that we have not used yet that I think you might find handy. This section talks about using grips to conveniently copy, move, and rotate objects. It's one of the things that we have been missing so far in AutoCAD, and this chapter will introduce you to those tools. So I really do encourage you to work through this tutorial included in chapter 9 and become familiar with those tools. They're very convenient. The reason I am not going to take you through is because this slideshow actually stops with the creation of this object. Those instructions in your textbook are very good. And I want to talk to you about the plot style activity. So I have, let me, there we go. I have already created this drawing from the text. Now, one thing I'll point out to you, use the template that we created last week. Your dimension styles may have to be adjusted. I had to decrease the size of both my text and my arrows in order to make my dimensions look not big and ugly. Feel free to do that. Now, I'm going to start on page 33 because I want to talk to you about a few different things that you can do within AutoCAD. We can adjust our plot styles. So let's go into our options menu. So I right-clicked, options. There it is. We're going to go to plot and publish. And what we want to do is we want to look at the plot style table settings. Make sure this says use name plot styles. It might say use color dependent. Make it say use name. This should all be saved in our template, but if it's not, make it look like what's on my screen right now. And now what we want to do is we're going to add a plot style table. Now this brought up this dialog box that was over on my other screen. And yours may look a little different, but we're going to choose the acad.stb. Double click on that. Go to table view. And instead of using the object color, let's tell it to make everything print as black. And save and close. And say OK. What that does now is when we plot, instead of getting blue, turquoise, and pink lines, we will get all black lines, which is what we're more used to seeing. So the blue, pink, and turquoise are handy for us when we're drawing, but in the interest of professional output, we want to print with only black. And my computer is having issues. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So if you now print this or put it on paper space, you'll get only black lines. And you can do that using the tools that we developed last week. I didn't update my template. Okay. Make sure you've got all your text in down here. and go ahead and put a viewport in here and pop those in to see that your line is all black, or that your lines are all black. All right. Now, I want to talk to you though on page 35. AutoCAD includes some really nifty tools that will give you information about your drawings. So up here in the ribbon area, there is a thing that says measure. And it will measure different things, including area. So if I click on the area and then I just click on a few different places, you'll notice that this thing will give me the area of the shape that I just made. It also gave me the perimeter. My area is 4.9850. The perimeter is 8.780. All right, now that's pretty meaningless. But suppose I click this measure and instead of randomly picking points, I pick the corners of this inclined face. I should say the vertices of that inclined face. Now it tells me the area of my face and its perimeter. This can be exceptionally useful. It saves you having to calculate these things. All right, there are some other activities in this chapter that are designed to familiarize you with different tools that AutoCAD provides. I encourage you to go through those, but I'm not going to take up any more of your time today. Complete the Chapter 9 assignment and submit it to the Dropbox, and I will see you again soon.